I'm Chari Hughes, and welcome back to another Wind Down Wednesday, where we unwind and talk all things life and advice. Our topic for tonight is why you need to forgive. If this topic is for you, go ahead and click the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can be notified when these videos drop. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back. It's another Wind Down Wednesday, our favorite day. Hi, loves. So tonight we are winding down with 1858 Red Blend. It's a California red wine. I already poured me some. I had my short class today. I already poured me some, but I'm about to see what it is giving. I'll let y'all know. Let me swiggle first. I do have some ice because I did freeze this bottle, but then I froze it like too much and it had to thaw. But it didn't change. I feel like, okay. It's not bad. It's given middle ground. It isn't too sweet, but it isn't too bitter as well. So that is definitely one of those sips and like chill and unwind. It's given unwind, which is what we love. So y'all know I got my notes. I want to go into why you need to forgive, but before I do, I wanted to talk about more like fun topics. I promise I did more light topics. However, God had other plans. This topic is totally God-led. It is one that I am putting into action myself, but we're gonna go ahead and get into why you need to forgive. What is forgiveness? Forgiveness is the action or process of forgiving or being forgiven. I ran across this article from allprodad.com, and it explained the misconceptions of forgiveness, and it also broke down what forgiveness is not. So we're going to clear some things up. Here are the common misconceptions of forgiveness. The first being forgiveness is not a feeling. Forgiveness is not a weakness. Forgiveness does not mean pretending it didn't happen or hiding from it. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. Forgiveness does not mean condoning or excusing wrongdoings. Forgiveness is not the same as reconciling. So, we're going to get into in a little while what forgiveness looks like. But honestly, I want y'all to take away the fact that before you practice or put this into practice, these methods and these tips, and before you receive anything from this video, you cannot forgive anyone else if you have not forgiven yourself first. It may be a certain situation you put yourself in. It may have been an action you've done or something you said to someone that you really, really regret. Now is the time to forgive yourself. Whatever that situation was, what occurred, let it go. Whatever you said and done, you can either pick up the phone and apologize and let yourself free, even if you have not received any closure from things that have happened to you on your behalf. It's time to let it go. It's time to be kind to yourself and extend grace to yourself. So this process works internally before externally, and before you can reach out to anyone else, because you have to be you 365 days. You have to wake up with you. You have to go to sleep with you. And if you cannot extend the same amount of grace to yourself that you're extending to anyone else, this entire video is a bit redundant. It's love. Whew. Some things I had to get up off before this video, and even during the research of this video, I had to like really get up off it and be kind to myself and forgive myself as well. So there's never anything that I would advise you all to do that, one, I haven't done, or two, I'm not actually working on. So forgive yourself. Get free. Get free. That's what it's about, being free. And you're called to peace. So, what does forgiveness look like? Forgiveness is indeed a process that includes four things: reflection, acknowledgement, empathy, and action. The reflection period is a time to think about the issue at hand. It's good practice to reflect on what hurt us and why. Acknowledgement is simply accepting what happened, validating our feelings regarding the issue, and it is a little bit hard because you have to relive it and explore the severity of the hurt. The empathetic period helps us to see the other person. As crazy as it may sound, honestly, we get to put ourselves in the shoes of the other person who harmed us in an attempt to understand what led to the hurtful action. We have to understand as well that forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. Reconciliation requires the work of two people, forgiveness does not. So let's circle back a bit, because I know I gave y'all that in layers. It was a lot for me myself, right, when initially I researched all of this. So forgiveness being a process, it is like, to me, an onion. So you know when you peel back the skin of an onion, you then peel back one layer of the onion, you peel back another layer of the onion, and you understand that the deeper or the more that you peel, the deeper you get, the more you are sensitive to feel that emotion. I look at it in that way because honestly, it is about going deep and peeling back those layers of hurt and exploring those things that make us very uncomfortable, and especially when you relive a thing. Like, honestly, who wants to do that? But it is beneficial. So when you reflect about the issue at hand, you're basically thinking about what exactly hurt you and why did it hurt you. And that part is a little bit simple, and it gets complex because ultimately we don't really know. Okay, in some instances or some situations, I don't even know why I'm upset. I don't even know why I'm mad at them. But the reflection period allows us to say, you know what? I'm upset because I was told a thing that was completely different from my character. You know? And then acknowledging is basically something that allows us to accept what happened. Yes, I was told this thing. It's totally against my character. It deeply affected me. It hurted me that this was said. It validates our feeling. Like, okay, you do feel hurt. You do feel sad because it is opposite of what you know or what you are to believe. So your feelings are valid. They are very valid, you know. They're valid. But for some people it may not be a verbal situation. It may be something as big as abuse. You know, some people actually experience that, and I often get saddened by that reality. Why does this person do what they do to me? What is the actual root? Why am I experiencing this amount of pain? Reflection. I can acknowledge that I'm going through this. You know what I mean? I'm free from it now for those people who have been free. But honestly, how deep does this affect me? How bad does this affect me in my day-to-day experience with life? Am I nervous to walk outside? Am I constantly looking over my shoulder? Am I having night terrors about this experience I had? And you know, sometimes when you go to the doctor, you go to the ER somewhere and you need urgent care, and they ask you, scale of 1 to 10, how deep is your pain? Or how much pain are you experiencing? I can imagine, you know, when you go through that process. It is the same with forgiveness, scale of 1 to 10 when you do that acknowledgement. How deep is your pain? How much pain are you experiencing from a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being the least, 10 being the greatest. That's deep within itself. The empathetic period is one of the hardest periods to go through, honestly. I'm just upon that. It's Wind Down Wednesday. And why that is so is because we have to be able to see the other person. And ultimately that is hard when you experience such hurt and pain and trauma from someone else. I had to take a deep breath on that one because I understand the heaviness of having empathy for someone who hurt or harmed you. And this period allows us to put ourselves in someone else's shoes, or at least try to figure out the root cause, because ultimately some people have trauma. You know a saying, and y'all know I have sayings, many sayings, that hurt people hurt people. So what caused their hurt where they're initially hurting other people? And sometimes because we're the one experiencing the pain, we don't even look at the other person or see the experience that they have had in life. Now, once again, I'm not saying excuse them from it, nor hide from the truth that they cause these things, but it does benefit us on our journey of forgiveness to honestly look at the root. I will give you an example. So I'm gonna say Amber. I'll use Amber. Amber fought all of her friends because she grew up seeing her mom fight all of her friends, or she developed a pattern that she saw in her household, so she became a product of that same environment. Or I'll give you a better one. Josh saw his dad abuse his mom, so Josh became an abuser because he saw his dad abuse his mom. He saw his mom abuse, and he couldn't really do much about it. So he internalized that pain instead of getting that help or the proper therapy for what he saw in his household, and he began to do life his own way. Yet when he got in a tough predicament or a tough space in his life, he took it out on his girlfriend. And Josh's dad saw his dad abuse his mom, so there we have it, a cycle that has not been broken, and he's operating in such a different system than what we know it. Makes sense? So it's not excusing the abuse that Josh's girlfriend experienced, or that his mom experienced, or that his grandmother experienced. It just helps us to understand that it isn't hereditary, but it's learned behavior. So it's much harder, and it helps us understand why. It doesn't excuse the fact that, we'll say Candace was abused at all. However, it does show exactly the root of where Josh experienced or saw that type of abuse. So you kind of get where I'm going with that? Good. We have to understand that forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. Just because you forgave, or I'll use the same example. Just because Candace forgave Josh and she understood, she went through all of the processes, she reflected, she acknowledged, she was very empathetic, that does not mean that she needs to be connected to him. It does not mean that they need to be reconciled. So just because you forgive someone, it does not mean reconciliation. Reconciliation, as stated before, is a two-person work. Now, if Josh decided to go to therapy, to work on himself, to renounce that system that he's a part of, that's a different thing. That's an actionable thing. Forgiveness does not mean reconciliation, honestly. If you choose to reconcile, that's your choice. That is like 100% belief to some people, but it's not true. So why is it important to forgive? Forgiveness helps to overcome the feelings of bitterness, revenge, and anger. Unforgiveness stands between you and God, and it doesn't allow God to fight on your behalf. God wants us to be free. As I said before, we are called to peace, and some painful situations are way too heavy for us to hold. Y'all know I said that in the beginning of the video. We're called to peace, and some situations we are not made to hold. Like, God's burden is light. His yoke is easy. It may be too heavy for us to hold, and honestly, He knows exactly where we are, and He knows how to meet us there, even as it pertains to our unforgiveness. And that's exactly why we need to work on forgiving. So forgiveness is for you and not the other person. It will free you entirely. Unforgiveness keeps us stagnant and coupled to negative emotions and outcomes. Forgiveness helps us to grow, and it promotes healing. It loosens control the other person may have had on us. It kills the thought of resentment. Helps us to thrive in our emotions healthily. It helps us to become better people, and it helps us to attract positivity and things we wish to see happen in our lives. That's a mouthful. I don't even have to say anything after that. Dalai Lama expressed in his book, Healing Anger, that unforgiveness is like a view of a person inflicting harm on themselves. He suggests that it becomes pointless to harbor unforgiveness toward those who hurt themselves. Thank you for winding down with me tonight as we discuss why you need to forgive. We wind down every Wednesday. Don't miss the next Wind Down Wednesday. And don't forget to bring your own bottle. Thank you, loves. Until next time. If you're new here, go ahead and click the subscribe button. If you've been here already, thank you so much for your support. Good night, loves.